Hi, I'm Chris, and in this lesson we're going to talk about the SAT essay. We're going to talk about the structure of how to set it up, and then one of the most challenging parts on test day is coming up with good examples that relate to the prompt, and we're going to talk about smart places to select examples from so that we can make sure the examples we pick are effective in helping develop our point of view in the essay. So first to the essay structure, which is going to be a classic 5-paragraph structure, starting with your introduction and statement of your thesis. Now the key here for the thesis is making sure that you state your position very clearly. And it doesn't matter which side of the argument you want to take, as long as you make sure that you make your position known in a strong and concise manner in that thesis statement. You can even pick a middle-of-the-road position, like "it depends." You just want to make sure that you're very clear about the criteria of what it depends on. So for example, if a prompt said that it is important to challenge people in positions of authority, and you said sometimes we should and sometimes we shouldn't, you want to talk about why it's one way in certain cases and the other way in other instances. So you would make your criteria known in the thesis statement, and that's really where your essay is going to unfold from there. So take your time planning at the beginning, make a strong thesis statement, and then it'll be very easy after that to utilize those examples that we talk about in a few minutes to support that thesis. And that's exactly what your supporting paragraphs will do. You can pick up to 3 examples. And if you can't think of 3, it's perfectly okay. It's actually more favorable for your score to make sure that you go into each example in depth rather than listing a bunch of different ideas. Pick 1, 2, or 3 would be kind of an ideal number if possible, but even if we only come up with a couple of examples, as long as we go into each one in depth and really utilize it effectively to make our point known and to support our position, then we'll be in good shape. And lastly, in paragraph 5, you want to wrap up with a conclusion. Now this structure is something very important to adhere to because unfortunately graders, when they go through the essays, spend only somewhere around a minute grading each essay. And that doesn't mean that they're not paying attention to your essay, but it does mean that because they're going through very quickly, you want to make sure you have everything outlined nice and clearly so it's very easy for a grader to read your points and credit you for those so that you can get the highest score possible. Next, we'll talk about examples. So where do we come up with examples? What kinds of examples are good to use for essays? What kinds of examples should we stay away from? And what about the accuracy of the examples? What if we mess up a detail when we're trying to use an example? Is that going to impact our score? So to address that, I recommend for the examples that we pick examples from 3 different areas. One is from our everyday situations, school, sports, if you're on a certain team, or if you have a certain experience in school and class or with a teacher. Those are all good places that we can draw examples from. It's something that we experience every day, and we probably have a large pool of knowledge about each of these topics that we can use different examples from that will apply to many different prompts. The next topic for examples that I recommend choosing from is something from history or literature. It could be a particular event like World War II or the Civil Rights Movement, or it could be maybe a particular character from literature that you identified with, Holden Caulfield, if Catcher in the Rye is your favorite book or something like that. And the reason that these are 2 good areas to select from for that second topic for your example is because you can think about these ahead of time, and you can take an area of history or an area of literature that you know quite a bit about, and you can apply that to many different kinds of prompts that you see. So it's helpful if we have one of those already thought of before test day so that no matter what prompt we see, we know what example we're going to use and kind of tweak so that it fits the prompt exactly. And then the last area that we can utilize for our examples is something from current events. And with current events, I usually emphasize here that it's something relatively current. It doesn't have to be something that happened in the news today, but just something that's going on with the times. For example, if you wanted to address changes in technology and communication, that's certainly something that is topical and that is happening in the world around us. And we can also apply something like that, think of it ahead of time, just like in our second topic, and then apply that to the prompt that we're given. So if we're selecting one example from each of those topics to be our 3 supporting examples in our essay, this also ensures something very important about how to address the prompt, and that's, if we're looking at these 3 different areas, that means that we're forcing ourselves to look at the prompt in depth, and that's something that graders keep an eye out for, especially for the higher scores. If you're looking for an essay that gets scored from 0 to 6, if you're looking to have an essay that gets scored somewhere in that 5 or 6 range, those higher scores really focus on depth, and it's very important to make sure that we're able to illustrate a depth of understanding of the prompt by using examples from different areas. So if we follow this structure, and we follow these guidelines for where to select examples from, then we should be in good shape on test day when we sit down and go to write our SAT essays. If you'd like to cover some more SAT material, please feel free to watch some of our other videos. You can visit our website at sandersontestprep.com, or you can watch more SAT related topics and lessons at STP TV. Thanks for watching.